Welcome to the On a Mission Mojo podcast, where I have the pleasure of interviewing impact-driven founders, entrepreneurs, authors, and business experts who are actively working to create a positive difference in our world. I'm your host, Lori Young, a branding specialist, certified master marketer, and a passionate advocate for brands that possess heart, soul, and an unwavering commitment to drive change for humanity. It takes grit, a visionary mindset, and an abundance of mojo to navigate this journey. And the stories I share will undoubtedly ignite your passion. If you're seeking an infusion of inspiration, motivation, and valuable insights to amplify your impact, let's dive right in. Welcome to episode 15 of On a Mission Mojo podcast. I have with us today one of my absolute favorite people in the world. I have been working kind of on and off with Jackie for a while. We've worked a lot on her messaging, her offer strategy, her business strategy, and it's just fun. I've gotten inside of, some of her memberships and inside some of her courses that she offers. And her energy is absolutely amazing and life-changing. So I'm very excited today. We're going to be talking about a topic that is, I think, probably near and dear to most business owners' hearts. And that is, how do we manifest more money? It's not how do we make more money, but how do we manifest more money? And I do think it's different. So let me formally introduce to you Jackie Senatore, which is an abundance and mindset coach. She is your guide to unlocking your inner potential and achieving holistic well-being. With over a decade of experience in personal development and energy healing, she empowers individuals to overcome challenges, heal emotional, mental, or physical pain, and manifest abundance in every aspect of their lives. Jackie's journey began when she conquered her own anxiety, delving deep into holistic and energy healing modalities like EFT, active meditation, and the emotion code. Today, she shares her transformative insights and healing techniques on her YouTube channel, helping countless viewers master their energy, gain confidence, and embark on a path of self-discovery, healing, and profound transformation. Join Jackie and tap into your infinite potential. Welcome, Jackie, to the show. We are going to have so much fun today. I can't wait.
We are. I always have fun with you. And thank you for that. You are my favorite too. So I always think whatever, with Lori, you make things better. You make me be able to offer better things to people. So I'm super grateful for you.
Awesome. So why don't we start by you just sharing a little bit about what you feel your personal mission is in this world?
Just a big question. Yes, I really love to empower people. During my life, I've sort of evolved it a lot. I used to really like helping people heal. And, I always had a soft and sensitive spot when people were down or suffering to uplift them and help them overcome challenges. And I still get to do that. Mm-hmm. But a few years ago or several years ago now, I really pivoted and switched to how can I help people help themselves?
Okay.
My mission now is that when someone is having a challenge or a crisis and they feel alone or they're in that breakdown of I don't know what to do, they hear a voice in their head of something that I said or something that I've taught them. And in that moment, they can use this tool in their backpack and they get through it themselves. Because I think there's no better self-love than when we feel like we have it within us. Yes. I'm still there to help hold the container and space for people. But I love when I get the message and it's like, I got into this argument with my husband and I remembered what you said and I energetically separated, and you can feel the love and appreciation they have for themselves. And there's no better gig for me. I love it. I could do it all day.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because there's obviously things that you have said to me in the past that I constantly remind myself. And I think one of the biggest thing is I'm going to be okay. Yes. Like you say that a lot, like whenever you're in a challenge and we're having to face our fear, it's like, what's the worst thing that could happen? No matter what that is, I'm going to be okay.
Yes.
And so, like, whenever I start to feel like a little like down or fearful or challenged, I always just say, you're going to be okay, Lori. You're going to be okay.
Yes. And I am
So,
okay, because the truth is we are okay. One of my favorite things that I hear, or a lot of people that I work with at a higher level that they take away from is, if I'm still breathing and I'm not bleeding, I'm
mhm.
okay. And sometimes, some days when we're bottom and it just feels like our world is being destroyed and something terrible happened, so many of them will say, I'm repeating it. If I'm breathing and I'm not bleeding, I'm okay. And I got that from one of my teachers of several years ago, going through a tough spot that I was in. And it's really just life changing,
Yeah.
because it grounds us. It brings us back into the moment where I am okay.
Yeah. It
And
gives
that's
us perspective, because sometimes I think we can take our challenges and blow them up to be so much bigger than they need to be. And it just brings back perspective. Like, okay, you have your health, like
Mhm.
you are still alive, you're breathing, you're not
Yes.
bleeding, like you're okay. You're
Yes.
okay. You're going to make it through.
Yes. And that is because we get triggered. So, why something can affect me and not you, or you and not me, is because it triggers some kind of buried trauma, some kind of old energy that we've stored. And so, when we get triggered, we're not in our mind, we're not in our rationality of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, that statement is like, okay, even though I'm on this ride, something has just been ignited in me. I'm going to remember the truth. And the truth is that I'm okay and I'm always okay, and it
Mm-hmm.
calms down that twister, that tornado. And then
Right.
eventually, once that trigger kind of calms down and our alarm calms down, then we're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. Wow, I blew that out of proportion. And it was really just because we were triggered, or hormonal. I always say too. It's like, oh, that was a hormone. So, very timely.
So tell us a little bit about like your story. Kind of like, what was like the catalyst that put you on this path, and kind of, making you know that this is like your soul's work and what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's a great question. I've had two. I think the first one was sort of, I was on a path of wanting to get into acting, and I was on film sets and really wanting to be in movies and commercials and that kind of thing. And I loved voiceover work, and I was really living it. It's where I felt most alive.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was pursuing it, I was getting really bad anxiety. I was getting
Okay.
anxiety on sets. I didn't like to go to remote locations with people I didn't know and film for however long. And my body was giving me a different response. My mind
Mm.
thought this is what I wanted. And although I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it and there was some success in it, my body was telling me something different. And
Okay.
so my mom introduced me first to EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique. And
Okay.
it was the tapping. And
Mm-hmm.
so I liked it and I got certified in it, but that was really the first doorway of, wait, our symptoms have reasons. They're not just happening to us. Like, there
Mm-hmm.
might be an underlining reason of what anxiety is trying to show me.
Right.
So I went on this start of personal development and studied that, and then led me to Dr. Brad. And for that kind of decade or 8 years or so, I was, okay, your symptom wants you to know something, do these modalities and heal the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
But it was somewhere in my mid, or probably my late 20s to early 30s, that I went through the next kind of transformation chamber that changed the trajectory of my life again,
Mm-hmm.
which was, I got a life-threatening kind of illness, Lyme disease, and it took me down. And then I went through a divorce, and all life sort of just crashed the model and way I was living. It just
Mm-hmm.
annihilated everything, where I had to start over.
Sure.
And what I realized and learned in that is, our symptoms actually come to change something in our life. I
Mm-hmm.
could look at Lyme disease or divorce was happening to me or harmful to me, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
bad luck.
Right.
But when I looked at it and worked with it in a higher way, Lyme disease actually saved my life. It changed my life. It showed me things that I would never have seen otherwise.
Mm.
And it changed the way I worked with people. It changed my family. It changed my social circle. It changed everything.
Everything. Wow.
And so it was like, wait a minute, we don't want to get rid of our symptoms. Our
Mm-hmm.
symptoms are like the mailman ringing the doorbell, having a package for you, a message for you.
Right.
And if we just
Right.
open the door and get the message, our symptoms have done its job.
Right.
But most people, and myself included sometimes, it's like, this hurts. What can I do to get rid of it?
Right. We want to run from pain.
Yes. Even in our
Yes.
business, if we talk about business for you, that, you know, we get stuck and we're just like, why isn't this offer working or this thing working? Maybe it's not supposed to. Life is
Right.
going to give you that door. So no matter what you do, you can't get through it because you're supposed to go this way, or you're supposed to meet this person. Or so I think a lot of our suffering comes from resistance to what life really wants to show us. And
Right. And I think we often don't have the patience. So like you said, we run away from the pain, but we don't have the patience to actually wait for what life is really trying to bring us, because in our minds we are so used to trying to control things and make things happen in our life that it's kind of counterintuitive to say, nope, you don't have control. Like, let go and allow life to show you the answers. And it's like, well, it's not going to show me fast enough.
it's because we're scared. It really comes down to fear. If someone told you, okay, Lori, within a week, I'll give you your answer, you'd be like, great, I'm going to take the week off and enjoy myself. And it's because we're so fearful that if I just relax, I forget who it was that said, if you want the answer to something, just go swimming. And it was just take yourself out of the need to know and the pressure and all of that, because that's what actually stops it. So I always invite people. I like to do 2-3 days because I, like you, I like to know things, and I'm a very hard worker and want to do things quicker.
Right.
Some people can give it a week, ask a really powerful question, and then give yourself the space to learn or to hear what your answer is.
Right.
It's just the trick in that, and this is what I do with people, is I help them process the fear during that time. Because we all want safety. Where are we going to ground through safety? Our partner, our job. So many of us ground through our job. And if your job goes away, oh my gosh, I'm in this panic.
Right.
And life wants you to know that even if your job went away, it's still going to reorganize. You're still going to be okay. And when we get good at that, our life becomes magical. Then our life starts to lead us and we're not so tired all the time.
So let's I think this is like a good segue into what we're going to be talking about today, which is manifesting more money, right? Let's start with kind of like, what's the mindset? Like the mindset that we're in when we want to manifest more money. I think everybody's probably in a different mindset. It could be that we really need more money, right? And it's kind of could be a life or death. It feels like a life or death kind of situation. It could be that, yeah, like I'm doing okay with money, but I would like to make more money, right? So let's just talk about like, what's the first step, and like, where are people at when they start thinking about like needing more money in their lives or in their business?
Yeah. And it's something that I think everyone goes through, no matter how much money you have. Then some people fear of losing the money that they have. So it's this big thing. And the reason, and you know this because you helped me construct it, the reason I picked the money course first is because it seems to be the thing that most people are fearful of and most people blame. It's like, if I just had more money, this would be better. My health, my relationships, my life would be better. Money seems to be that thing that people use to blame for their unhappiness. And it's an easy one to blame for our unhappiness because sometimes it's a harder one to get to. So you said in the beginning, it's like creating more money is different than manifesting more money.
Right.
Creating more money sometimes can be, I got to work harder. I got to, there's some people that make a lot of money, but they're tired and they know they can't sustain it, or they're sacrificing something really huge in exchange for this.
Right.
So, which isn't wrong. It's a way of being, and there's gifts in that if we looked at it. It's just when I talk about manifesting more money, it's with an ease. It's with a permission. It's with a flow. We can swim that river, or we can kind of allow the river to take us. Is the difference of, do we get to enjoy it, or are we burning ourselves out?
Right.
Working so hard for it.
Right.
I really like the flow. It feels better. And it's more
Yes, it does.
sustainable, more
Yes.
sustainable as we get older. It's not so easy now when we have kids and all the other things to just keep going at that fast rate.
Right.
So you said a word there, the I work with energy. So even though I
Mm-hmm.
work with mindset and belief systems, everything ultimately comes down to the energy that we're in and if we're in alignment with flow or if we're in resistance.
Right.
And our energy loves to move. It loves to flow freely through us. And there's one or two things that gets energy stuck and to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is putting need on it. So you said the word of as soon as we need something, you can feel it almost in your body. I
Mm-hmm.
need that. Your body will like tense.
Yes.
And there's a fear and there's a stop energy. So need creates stop energy. And the second one
Okay.
that creates it is judgment, judging where we're at, judging ourselves, beating
Mm.
ourselves up, and making where we're at wrong.
Right.
So those are the two things that is a recipe for being stuck. And there's
Right.
no judgment on judgment. We all are judging. It's just to catch it and then to shift from it.
Right. Like I know for me, like I'm kind of like you. I'm a type A, like high achiever, and I do have a tendency to judge where I'm at based on my financial, like what my business is doing financially,
Yes.
right? And that is just such a hard belief
Yeah.
to let go of.
You know
Like,
what? Yeah. It's hard to let go of it because it's our old recipe. It's
mhm,
the way we were brought up and then it worked for the most part. We were
right.
told work hard, you'll achieve. And for the
Mhm,
most part in our life that's exactly how we did it. Then we get to a part of our life where we want to go to a level higher and the old recipe is just not going to work for that next level.
right.
And so many people that I know and work with make a whole bunch of money, like really into the millions and some of them billionaires. And they actually do way less than the people that have to work so hard. And it's this next tier of,
Hmm.
okay, how can I create a new recipe for getting to a level higher? And that one has a lot more trust. It has a lot more risk. And so when we're comfortable with uncomfortable, we get rewarded for it. So a lot of the people at that level, they risk in a way or put themselves out there, become vulnerable, and they trust it's going to be okay.
Hmm. How would you how would you advise someone who's stuck
Mm,
in this either judging or this need, like,
yes.
I need money, I need to make a profit this month, I need to get this next career position so that I
Mhm.
can make more money. What do you advise people do to kind of get to that next tier and let go of that old story?
Yeah, there's a few things. And one, I always think working with someone and having a coach, someone to hold the space and a container for you
Hmm.
to evolve is really helpful. It's kind of
Hmm.
like massaging our own back. We can maybe get some knots out, but it's very different when we have a space of learning. And that could be anything. It doesn't even have to be a high budget something. It really could just be read more, start studying people and putting yourself in places where people have already resolved that,
Hmm.
because it's like you put your hand in a pot of glue, some of it's going to stick. And just to be in that energy to know it's possible will
Sure.
already help you get there. So to
Hmm.
watch who you're around. If you're around people that really have stagnant money beliefs of,
Mm.
who are you to deserve that? Nobody gets that. This is the way you were brought up, or this is the way you're going to live. Cool. Look for somebody else that's like, money's so easy. And
Right.
just start to get really curious as to what their journey has been like. And you said something, and for everybody listening, I was in that position of need, of going through that divorce and having kids and
Hmm.
having the finances just hit rock bottom, where
Sure.
it was month to month and literally crawling every 30 days to make ends meet. And sometimes, I'm going to pay this bill this month and I'm going to pay that one before that one gets shut off. And gosh,
Right.
I was there. And the way that it ended was to take the pressure off and to know that that God, the universe, whatever you believe in, higher than yourself, has me.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do that, the more it shows up. And it's so tricky to our mind because it doesn't make any sense. But the times that I would just relax, I'm going to play with my kids and trust that I'm going to be okay.
Right.
I don't know how. It's terrifying to take it even an hour off sometimes
Mm-hmm.
of where we're at, just
Right.
to stop and give ourselves that day. But every time I did it, a new client would come in, something would come out of nowhere, an unexpected check would come in, somebody would say something and hire me somewhere, or just it always showed up. And so when that was happening, I was like, okay, it's working. I'm going to try it a little bit more, and I'm going to try it a little bit more. And now years later, I'm at a place of just, okay, I'm going to take 2 days off, full surrender. I'm ready
Mm-hmm.
to let go of everything that I have. Show me what's next. I know you've got me. And
Right.
that's where you really get to that place of, gosh, it comes in every single time.
Yeah, and I think it is there's something to be said for letting go and allowing the universe to work on your behalf.
Yes.
I mean, I think when we, like we talked about earlier, when we try to control, like we are in this kind of like this stuck energy, right?
Yep.
It's like this, and I'm sure you probably believe this too, but money is energy, correct?
Yeah. Everything's energy. If we
Right.
break everything down, everything is energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if we're stuck, or yeah, if we can't be in flow, then obviously money cannot like flow to us.
We're also angry at it. A lot of people, when they want money and there's a hard need on it and they're so upset at not having it. If you think about the energy tone of that, that doesn't match abundance. It doesn't match, well, give me more of the thing that I'm so stressed about.
Right.
You
That
know,
makes sense.
yeah, it's not in alignment. And it's funny, but I get that there's so much pain associated with this. So it's so hard sometimes to shift from, well, it's easy to say that because there's one big thing, and this is what I really take people through and why I recommend having someone hold space, is because we avoid feeling how much pain we're in. We're
Mm-hmm.
avoiding wanting to have that breakdown, breakthrough that's crying. We avoid wanting to sit on the floor and say, you know what, I failed and I suck, and letting it go.
Right. Right.
Everybody wants to pretend that's not there. Some people numb it, some people eat, some people work harder just to avoid that moment of surrender, of,
Mm-hmm.
some people call it a breakdown when they cry and they have enough, but it's really a breakthrough energy. They're stopping the resistance. They're not going to fight anymore. And when they do that, usually the next day, the answer
Something
comes in.
happened. The
So
answer
I
comes.
teach people, we don't have to get to that breakdown. I can show you how to let steam out of the kettle, the resistance out, so we don't need to get to rock bottom. We can start to once a week or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that people want to do this, or even self-study, whatever it is, they can start to, okay, where do I feel that? When I think about not making enough money, or let's say people have money and they just want to get higher where they're not struggling, or they just want to grow into another tier. If I never get there, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just scan your body of, where does your body tell you, well, Jackie, I'm not okay. Like my chest, my back, my throat, I feel angry when you say that.
Mm-hmm.
That starts to show them where the stuck energy is, where the story that they're creating. One of the biggest things I'll say that blocks this, it's like kind of like a shut gate, is when we blame somebody else for where we're at. It's like a slammed gate.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I can sit here, me and you could probably sit here and have a few people to blame if we really wanted to. But the truth is, that's what's keeping us stuck. It's nobody else's fault. We're creating our life. And once we take ownership of that, there's so much surrender. There's so much more energy available.
But what about if people like, okay, so they don't blame, others. Instead,
Yeah.
they blame themselves.
Same thing. So it's a blame or shame energy of, I suck or I'm not good enough. And instead of that story and moving that out almost of just like, okay, I'm not going to participate with that. What do I feel? So if I'm just not smart enough or good enough, or I failed, where do you feel that in your body? Where do you feel not good enough? Where does that live? And usually it'll be somewhere down the midline, your chest, your back, and then taking people through a process of healing that energy. And you can use all different kinds of modalities. I really like the active meditation where you put your attention around it and you just observe it and don't make it wrong. Give it permission to be there. Give yourself permission to feel it. You'll get warm or sweaty or cry, or there's some kind of discharge.
Sure.
And then you get the higher answer of, we're all great. It's just we're not great when we're going in the wrong direction. When we're wanting that one locked door in our life that's not for us, everybody's going to feel like a failure. But if we stop banging that door and one of my biggest things is ask the universe, ask yourself, ask God, okay, I'm stuck. It's really painful.
Right.
Can you help me see what I'm supposed to do? And when we ask that question, then we give space to allow it to come in, the answer shows up. Sometimes immediately. Even for our health, our relationships, if we want to know the answer to something and we ask a really powerful question and then we just wait and listen, someone will call and say, there's this thing. I had somebody that was in the program for 30 days in the membership that you helped me create. And she was rock bottom financially. And she just shared this a couple weeks ago. She was rock bottom financially and had to actually move back in with her parents.
Okay.
So sort of the biggest thing of fear of being in your 30s and being like, oh my God, I just can't do it. I'm going to have to move home and I'm the ultimate failure, right?
Sure.
And she went through a breakup on top of it.
Right.
And so she couldn't get lower and thought, okay, I'm going to do this meditation and I'm going to do it every single night and I'm going to feel it and I'm going to take the judgment off where I'm at. I'm going to stop beating myself up just for a week.
Just for a week. Okay.
Yep,
that's doable, right?
It's doable. For a week, I'm just going to accept where I'm at and it's not wrong because it's where I'm at.
Right.
And so she started doing the meditations every night and then started to ask questions of what am I supposed to do? And so she saw something about an Uber driver and she didn't even have her own car at this point moving home. So she's like, I'm going to sign up for an Uber driver and use my parents' car. If that's what you want me to do, universe, God, I'm humbled by it and I will do it. And so she went to go do it. And she said, as soon as I was going to go register that car, I felt something in me say, that's not right. So she's like, I listened to you. And I said, okay, fine. Show me again. What am I supposed to do? And so cosmetology school came to her mind and she went to go look at registering for cosmetology school. And she said the same thing happened. My gut said, this is not you. This is not your purpose. Just wait a little longer. Okay. So she says, I'm going to do the meditation. I'm going to keep surrendering. I'm going to keep going to my heart and asking what to do. And she said within a few days, somebody tagged her on a post on Facebook. It was a headhunter of a company for a sales job. And she was always good at sales. So she applied for it. And she said, I really went into that job thinking, whatever, I have nothing to lose. If this doesn't work out, the last few things, I'm okay. Right. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm okay. I'm breathing. I'm not bleeding. I'm okay. And so she said, I showed up very differently in that interview. He said, what do you do when someone has an objection and says no to an offer that you're making? And she was so good at sales. And she just boldly said, well, that doesn't happen to me. I'm really great at sales. And so he says, yes, well, what happens when it does? And she's like, I'm sorry that it's never happened to me. I don't know. He liked her confidence and her boldness in it. And she said, I think it was because I just didn't have an attachment to whether he hired me or not. At this point. So he hired her just based on her confidence and boldness of saying that. And within the first 30 days, she made $20,000 of sales commission. And she just closed out the end of last year at over $200,000 of sales commission. And when I asked her, I'm like, what did you do? She says, I practiced those steps. She did meditation every day for 30 days with me. But every day she took the judgment off of herself. every day, instead of beating herself up, she said, okay, I'm going to ask, what do you want me to do? What's my purpose? Show me more. I'm listening. I'm ready. And it showed up for her. And now she wants to go to a level higher. So getting to look at her formula of what worked.
Right.
And taking that the next step. And for people who might not be rock bottom, her next step was, I have a really great bank account of savings. I saved a bunch of money. That's now her parents' house. Like, that's now my safety.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a week off again and start asking the universe, how do I get to 300,000, her goal for next year? How do I get even higher?
Mm-hmm.
What's next for me? I'm listening. And so find that safety. And for some of us, it's government support, and it's okay.
Right.
For some of us, it's, I'm still eating, I'm still making it. Can I give myself that week of just asking and listening? A desire from your heart of, I want it, I don't need it. If I don't get it, I'm okay.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about that story is how there were a few different things that came up for her, right? Of like, I see an Uber driver, I see Cosmopolitan school, right? But then when she went to actually get closer to that, it was like, no, that's not it. How would you advise people to be able to like explore, like when we do get those hits of which we feel like, okay, well, maybe this is the answer, like this is coming up for me, right? Like, whether or not that's an actual true like heart aligned idea that comes up, or maybe it's a fear aligned idea, maybe it's, I don't know what kind of like idea, like let's talk just a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really dug into that with her, the first one, and she said it was a humbling. She had been really successful before in the past, before everything kind of cracked down on her. And she says, I was going to go be an Uber driver. And she's like, I had this humbling that came over me and said, you know what, if that's really what I'm supposed to do, okay. And that's, I think, when it was like, okay, great, you passed that.
Got it.
You're willing to not judge yourself so when my divorce started, I had in my 20s had probably like a high 6-figure coaching business, and I had kids and all the things, and was really like, oh, I'm successful. My box of success was checked in my 20s.
Sure.
And I had opened a wellness center, and I was the person that owned it. And then I was going through this divorce where they closed my wellness center, and I closed my coaching business when I got sick. And I went to go apply to work at someone else's wellness center. And it was for minimum wage. And everyone wanted to shame me and all this stuff, and was like, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. It turned out to be a really amazing experience, because I got to see a wellness center far further along in the path than me. And I realized I don't really want a brick and mortar kind of location. I liked being online. So I was very thankful that showed it to me. I met new friends there, and it had other gifts for me.
Sure.
So I think it's taking the judgment off of the Uber for her, that, the universe or God was like, okay, I'm going to give you the next one. Are you willing to go to school? Okay. It almost was like, I'm listening to you. I'm trusting you. And so I would answer the second part of that question with, if it's not working, let's say it tells you something, go do this online, put this offer out, and you're like, okay, I'm going to listen, and it's not working. Can you let that one go and say, okay, next? Show me
okay
more.
All right. So here's another question that I know is very common for business owners. At what point do we decide something is not working?
Yeah.
Because business takes time. It takes patience. It takes working at things for a while. So at what point do we say, you know what, this isn't working anymore, and I'm going to abandon this idea and, maybe start another idea?
Yes, you've been with me through this, so it's so nice that I'm having this conversation with you. Really, I think when the challenge is uninspiring, meaning you've watched me build and helped me build certain things. And if it was still inspiring and aligned with what I still wanted,
Mm-hmm.
even if 3 people signed up, I
Mm-hmm.
still felt like, yes, I'm serving. I love it. Even though the challenges are there, they were inspiring challenges. I
Okay.
think when it's time to pack it in, when you hate it, when you don't want to do it, when you want to
Yes.
punch down that door to get that check, and even when you get it, you're just not happy. I feel like I have to do this. I don't want to. And I
Right.
often, when I work with people and I get them in a good spot of clearing all the fear out and all the blame and shame out, and when you go to their heart, they can feel it. If somebody was going to take this away from you and give you anything you wanted, would it be this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, when you know, like for me, I know somebody, I worked with somebody on a Saturday and he's like, thanks for doing this on a Saturday. I'm like, I could do this all day.
Right.
It's hard. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
of all people know most.
Right.
I'm not the most techie and I don't love lots of aspects of this job, but I love the mission of it. I
Mm-hmm.
love the inspiring connections with people and helping people and watching transformation on people's faces. And that makes all the back end Kajabi offer email automation. It makes all of that less desirable. That's why I have you. Less
Yeah.
desirable, fun stuff that I would pack it in, right? If I had
Right.
to do that mostly. Um, so that's what I think the answer is. I think when you are uninspired by the challenges, when you don't like it, when your heart's not in it.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a conversation with someone the other day, and it was just kind of like a coffee meet and greet, like of
Mm.
a business colleague that we're kind of in the same community. And she said to me, what's so special about your branding and marketing agency, right?
Mm.
And she kind of like caught me off guard because she was being like challenging, right? And I said,
She threw
well,
some energy in your space, Lori. That's what it was.
yes, exactly. And I was just like, well, honestly, I said, I feel like it's because we're a very high touch, very heart centered like
Mhm.
agency, right? And that's different. We're not people that work with us, they're not just like numbers and on this huge, client list. Like we take only a certain amount of clients and it's very, and she's like, people don't give a crap about that.
Mm.
And
Some
I was
people.
just like, wow, okay. And she's like, what you need to be doing is you need to offer a website in 10 days. That's what they want. They want their websites done in 10 days. They don't want it to be involved in it. They just want it done. And I got off the call and I thought to myself, I started talking to like my copywriter, my website designer. I'm like, do you think we could pull a website off in 10 days? Like I started going down this path like that
Mhm.
she threw me on.
Yeah.
Right. And I kept asking myself, is this like, does this feel aligned
Mhm.
with me? Like, does this feel like, I don't know, like, I don't know that this feels aligned. I don't want to be a cookie cutter agency that throws together a website in 10 days because, hey, we can say we can do a website in 10 days. That just wasn't my heart.
Right.
And so I kind of just said, you know what? I'm going to give that energy back. It does
Yep.
not feel like
Yeah.
mine. And I would say 3 to 4 days later, someone booked a call with me. And she said, what I really liked about you is that you worked with heart centered and impact driven brands. She said, I don't see like any marketing agencies doing that. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you, universe. My heart is in the right place. I feel like this is my purpose. Like I feel like that's where my heart lies. That's where I love those kind of brands. And it was just like a message from the universe that said, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Don't go down somebody else's path.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that just is kind of like,
And
it just,
yeah, and
go
it's
ahead.
not that she was wrong. It's not that she was wrong. It's just that's not for me. And if we try to do something that's not for us, even if you were to do that 10-day website thing and make a bunch of money, those people eventually get burnt out. They get a lot of complaints. They get a lot of other side effects that come with having that business.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's what feels good to me is even if I don't get 1,000 people because I don't have some kind of package that brings in a lot of both sides,
Mm-hmm.
you get connection with people.
Yes.
You get, when you go to a website, at least for me, and I know most everybody does this, whether they're aware of it or not. When you go to a website, you feel the tone of something. You
Mm-hmm.
feel the alignment of something. You might
Yes.
not know what you like and don't like about it, but you really help people, or at least for me, how can I speak in the tone that you speak to?
Yes.
So you get more aligned clients. And when I used to do YouTube ads and all that stuff, I would get things that are just like, whoa, that's not for me. Although it was a lot more, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until you fixed, the messaging to really speak to my people. Then they come in, it's like, you're perfect. You're
Right.
exactly what it is.
Right.
So
Right.
you might have just needed a little reminder of where your heart was. And that
Yes.
experience was just to validate, remember your truth. Yeah.
Yes. Remember what your soul told you, 6 months ago, where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other tips that you can share on
Yeah.
manifesting money? We kind of I knew this was going to happen. You and I get into these conversations and they're fun, but we go kind of off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's been helpful for those people listening.
Yeah. One of the things I think, money loves energy. I
Mhm.
always find that do something, and I teach people more meditation tools, but for everybody listening, find something that you feel raises your energy. So
Okay.
I talk a lot about that experience that you had, call your energy back from that person, energetically learn to separate from other people in your space,
Mhm.
do something. I like grounding, but when people, you have to have a higher frequency to ask for something of higher frequency. So a
Mhm.
lot of people, they're like, well, I want more money. I'll give you an example of this one, a story. There was a woman who wanted 40 new book people. She helped people become bestsellers in books, and she wanted
Okay.
40 new customers for the month. I said, okay, great. How much money would that bring you in? She told me how much money it would bring her in. I said, okay, now feel 40 new people coming to you that you get to work with this month. And as soon as she did, she was like, no, I can't handle that. I have to bring my kids to dance class. I have to do. She said she wanted it, but her nervous system was like, whoa, no, I can't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with people, it's how do we get your nervous system in a way that if 40 new people came to you this month, Lori, you'd be like, great, I can handle that. I could do that.
No, I couldn't, but
finding that, so whatever it is that we want specifically,
right.
For me, I'm like, my nervous system would love it. So we want to find, and that's because it's formatted differently.
Well, you have a container to handle 40 people.
Yes.
I don't have the container or the offer to handle 40 people in 1 month. So, but anyway.
Right. So it's just finding whatever it is that we're wanting. So for all of us, it'll be something different. What are you wanting right now? Do you want to go up 10 grand? Do you want to sign a new contract? Do you want a bonus? Do you want to only work 3 days and not 5 days? What is your want? And then have your energy support it. So if you think about what you want and it freaks you out or scares you, that's your first spot to work on. What about it? What about it is scary? When I work with people, when it comes to abundance or money, it's anything really, but specifically with money and clients and business, if there's something that you're wanting that's not happening, no matter what you're doing, there's a part of you that's afraid or in resistance to having it. And so I, with your help again, created a container that if 100 people came in, I have a plane that doesn't pull from me. I have it all set up and automated for supporting them. So it didn't feel like that'd be so overwhelming. No, but yet I'm asking for more money.
Right.
So we want to condition our vehicle, which is our body, to be able to handle, and we do it in steps, little bottlenecks, I call them. Like we find how many people, I'd love 3 new people this month. Great. How does that feel for your nervous system? If you want to go up even higher than that, what would I have to do to support that? And when we condition our nervous system, it comes in pretty quickly because we're no longer afraid of it. We can handle it.
Right. Right. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like this person saying, do a website in 10 days. My nervous system was just like, whoa, like that means that we got to turn copy around in a week. A client needs to approve everything like that. Then we got to design in a week. I mean, it was throwing my nervous system into like a spiral.
Well, because some people, and I don't know her specifically, but energetically, she has to be at a place where she cares a little less about quality. She has to.
For her business model, what works for her is she takes one client on at a time.
Okay.
She takes one client on a time and she charges $15,000 to $35,000 for her offer. And so of course that works. And, she does all of the work herself, and she sets up back end systems for businesses, right? For her, it works.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I don't want
her
just,
nervous system.
Yeah. And something about her nervous system, she's like ADHD and she's super high energy, like super high energy. So for her, moving fast like that works for her. Me, I'm more chill, grounded, like calm.
Yeah. So see how both are great. It's just what aligns and what aligns. And then us to say, it's not that that's bad. It's just no, thank you. That's not for me. I often refer to this as like food. I know it's a funny analogy, but it's like me and you eating at a restaurant. I want something totally different than you want.
Right.
And then the universe brings it. And if it's right, you're like, great, this is so delicious. And if something's wrong with it, you can say, no, thank you. I want this. I want to tweak this. I want to add this. I want to take away this.
Right.
And we get to shape what it is that individually we want. And I think that's the fun thing about why you could work with 5 coaches and get something different from everybody.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. It's just who are you most aligned and called with? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this has been great. And we are like towards the end. And I always ask at the end of our episode, I always ask the same question. And that is, what is your personal mojo that you bring to this world?
What is my personal mojo?
And I always say your mojo is like your magical superpower.
Gosh, I if I had to say what my superpower, like that word, what my superpower is for people is I connect with them at a higher level. Okay. So more of a soul connection than a story and their personality. So a lot of the times people will talk to me and tell me what their problem or issue is, and I go above it, or I find a way to connect to what their soul is really saying, what their heart's desire really is, and not so much what their personality and their story, the current
what they're necessarily telling you.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
So I have more of a gift of when people are talking to me, I read the energy of it as opposed to the words of it. So someone can say something and I'm like, nope. And I'll tweak it a little bit. And they're like, that's exactly how I feel. And it's more looking behind it. We all get stuck in our stories and, our crap that we tell ourselves and the beliefs that we think. And people probably listening to this have had it when their best friend is saying something and they're just like, I'm not buying anything that you're believing. I'm really good at that with people, anybody that I connect to. I feel I connect more to the soul, which has drawbacks, by the way. When I was a kid growing up, people can appear nice, but I would run from certain energy things, and full circle of that anxiety on sets, I would feel all everybody's stuff. So I was having these anxiety attacks, but it wasn't a symptom that was bad. It was, hey, you're energetically sensitive and this environment is not for you.
Right.
And so it was guiding me. So there's benefits and drawbacks to my gift.
I get it.
I help a lot of people, but I'm also very sensitive to things that I see in people that sometimes I don't want to know or I don't want to feel.
Which is why we get along so well, because I'm very sensitive myself. And so anyway, this has been amazing. And I hope that everyone listening has at least started to look at manifesting money differently, that you've got some tools now, you've got some stories, you've got some inspiration, some motivation to view money differently and to show up differently. If manifesting money is, what you're wanting to do, I hope that this episode is able to let you take the next step in the direction you want to go.
Yeah, I was going to say I have a manifesting more money course that that launched last fall, thanks to Lori's help and finesse on it, everybody. So yeah, I'll give you a promo code for people to get a discount on that, just for your listeners if they want.
That would be awesome, because I can say I've been through the course and it's really, really good. So it will give you all of the tools that you need to manifest more money in your life or business. So thank you, Jackie, for being here, and I'll see you on the other side. That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to the On a Mission Mojo podcast. Ready to dive into more incredible stories of people on a mission? Next week, I'll return with a fresh episode to ignite your passion for creating a better world. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a glowing review, and spread the word to all your friends. Head over to onamissionbrands.com for more great episodes. Remember, the world needs your mojo, so go out there and let your brilliance shine.